I'm all about grain mills here on this channel, and most of the time I'm talking about electric grain mills, but today, dun ta, I'm going to be reviewing a grain mill that I've wanted to get my hands on for the longest time, and this is the Grainmaker manual grain mill. Hey y'all, welcome back to Grains and Grit. My name is Felicia, and on this channel, I teach you all about real whole grains, all from a biblical perspective. I teach you how and why to be milling your grains and more. All right, so one of the things that we do on this channel is, of course, product reviews. And I have many reviews out there for mixers and several different types of grain mills, and I'm excited to be able to review yet another grain mill. But this one is different because it's actually a manual grain mill. And this is one that is an absolutely gorgeous grain mill that some of y'all have actually recommended to me to check out. Y'all were wanting to hear reviews, you have it yourself. And so we reached out to the company and they actually sent me one for review. And I'm super excited about this. So this is going to be my first initial thoughts about this. I'm going to be going through the basic specs of the Grainmaker grain mill. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the assembly process of it. That's just going to be some B-roll that I filmed while putting this together. And then of course, we're going to be testing it out. Does it mill fine enough? And also how easy and how long does it take me to mill by hand? Ha! All right, so first of all, let me just talk about what comes in the box. So this is not fully assembled when it comes in the box, but it is mostly assembled, I will say. So I actually do have the Wonder Junior Deluxe grain mill. That is my other manual grain mill that is significantly smaller than this one, and actually was quite the ordeal to put together. I think I had to put it together there were a lot of smaller pieces that I had to put together. This one required actually minimal assembly. All that I had to do was just remove the bolts because it is shipped on a piece of plywood that I'm sure you probably could keep if you mount this down, but it actually is shipped on a piece of wood. My boys will enjoy getting this to put in their wood collection. So all that I had to do was actually remove the two bolts that they had, save them because those are what you use to actually attach the handle. So I had to remove the bolts. I went ahead and used the clamp. Now they state that the clamp to the counter is sold separately. They went ahead and sent it to me. So in the manual, it says sold separately, but I did have one. So I just had to install the clamp on here. You just have to make sure that your counter space has the clearance for it. Or if you don't want to clamp it down and you want a more permanent spot, they say you can actually bolt it down. There are 4 holes here on the bottom, so you could really bolt it down to a more secure surface. But for me, I just used the clamp for now. We just had to install the handle, and that was pretty much it. So the only thing that kind of surprised me is right here, there is a little bolt. You use the Allen wrenches that come with it to loosen it. So just be aware that this handle was all the way up here, and loosening it loosened this up. And so the handle shot down. So be mindful of that when you go to loosen this, because loosening this little bolt here allows you to then adjust the augers. So this is what it came with. I believe that I was sent the model number 99. They do have a smaller one that is the model number 44. It looks to be the exact same grain mill, just a little smaller. And it did come with the little guard. This is purely metal that is here. That you just put in there. I'm assuming that's metal to make sure nothing really big pops in. So other things that came into the box is a little brush here. They tell you how to do that. The manual, of course, which is simple and easy to go through. I felt like the instructions were pretty clear. Again, there's actually minimal assembly required, which was wonderful to have minimal assembly required. But even with the instructions, pretty simple. I felt like you might have to read them 1 or 2 times depending on what you're looking for, but otherwise pretty easy. It also tells you how to fully take it apart to clean well and how often you should be cleaning it, as well as general information about what grains to use, what augers to use for which ones, and then available accessories, but we'll get into that in a bit. Another thing that it came with is a pretty cool little cookbook. This is actually for buckwheat flour and cornmeal recipe. It's called True Grist. Love that name. So I was glancing through it, looked like some pretty cool recipes, especially the buckwheat one. I don't have many buckwheat recipes to use, so that's cool. And then for me, they actually put in a little bag of hard white wheat. And then of course it comes with the Allen wrenches that you need for the minimal assembly. And then also the guaranteed registration card for that. So very, very minimal. The only thing I will say, this is very, very heavy. So you may want a second person to help you get it out of the box. I did do it myself. And I am short. I had to put it on the floor. I'm only 5'2", but I was able to, with one arm, kind of get it up. It would have been easier with a second person. So just know that this is heavy. Let's get to the specs. Again, they have different models. So going on the website, seeing, and I'll be linking for all this down below, including where to get one. Oh, which by the way, I need to come up with a name. I'm thinking Jenny. I'm going with Jenny. It just occurred to me. Jenny, everyone meet Jenny, the grain mill, Grainmaker Grain Mill. So Jenny here, heavy duty metal construction. She has a 6-cup hopper here. This guard here is stainless steel. It is a hopper guard for safety, probably to keep out little fingers from going in. And then it has 5-inch milling burrs inside of it. And the milling burrs, and I'm just reading my notes here because I want to make sure I get this right. It is hardened alloy steel and allows the miller to grind a wide range of materials, including dry, oily, and soft grains. So this gets into multiple types of grains that you can do. And then of course it does have a powder coated steel dust cover here that can be personalized, which I love because they put on here grains and grit for me, which as soon as I pulled this out, I was like, oh my goodness. So I love that it is personalized. So this cover here, you can have personalized, which I think is really awesome. Now, one thing that sets this one apart from the Wonder Junior Deluxe Grain Mill is the actual, they call it a V-belt flywheel. So it actually has this whole mechanism back here. This is different. And I have wondered if this allows more of an ease in milling the grains, which we will be finding out later. And the weight that they say is 24 pounds. So as far as the basic dimensions go, this is 13 3/4 inches high. The width is 12 inches and the depth is 10 1/8 of an inch. Now, one thing I'm not sure is I don't think that includes the handle. So this is the actual, because looking at this, the handle goes out an extra, maybe like 5 or 6 inches. So just keep that in mind, but the handle can be removed. And then the base here is a 6x6 inch base to give you an idea. Now let's talk about the available accessories. I'm going to be reading off of their manual here. So this is what it comes with. Now, like I said, they state that the custom mounting clamp is optional. So it's a heavy duty clamp. Just know that it needs 1 inch of overhang clearance with a thickness of up to 3 inches. So you need to check your counter spaces. So like for mine, some of my counters have a little bit like of an extra lip around. So I think this will work, but I may have to actually change where it is to make it more secure, but we're gonna find that out later. You do have electric options for this. They have an electric gear motor. So easy conversion, no belts needed. You just remove the flywheel and slide the motor onto the shaft. They say that this will only work with the number 99 model. So if you want to get this and have the motor for it, that's only on the number 99 model. They also have a bicycle kit. So that's something that looks like can be answered with more models. They just need your bicycle with 26-inch wheels. And then they have a DIY motorizing kit. So that is for people with basic knowledge of mechanics and carpentry. And it allows you to convert your a motor. And I'm going to leave it at that. So if you would like a DIY project, they have a DIY kit for you. That is not my jam, not my thing. Now, the other thing that they offer here is they do have a wooden, their grip, their handle is wooden. And this is about, they say 5 inches wide, but an option that you have, if you prefer two-handed, they have an extended wood grip that takes this 5 inches to 10.5 inches wide to allow you to use both hands. Now, to be honest, this is actually big enough for my hands to come together. So technically the 5-inch one works for both of my hands, but if you have bigger hands, you may want that. I tend to have smaller hands. Probably like for my husband, who's a 6 foot tall man, I could see him maybe like the 10.5 probably being better because his hands are bigger than mine. Okay, so one amazing thing about this mill is the guarantee that they have. They have a lifetime heirloom guarantee, a lifetime guarantee. And this actually includes pretty much everything, including the parts, the burrs, the augers. It just doesn't, it does exclude the finish of the grain mill, which makes sense because over time that will probably wear and tear just a little bit. Now that warranty is void if this mill is used commercially, which if you're a commercial one, I would go with electric anyway, but if you use it commercially, it's null and void. So that is incredible to have a lifetime warranty, a lifetime guarantee. So it does come with a card that you can use. You do need to register your mill within 90 days of receiving it. So you need to either drop this in the mail or you can just go online to register your grain mill for that lifetime guarantee, which I have to say is incredible. And so far, the only grain mill I know to actually provide a lifetime guarantee. They also have a 30-day money back guarantee. So for whatever reason, if you decide I don't want to do this, you have 30 days to return it for a full refund minus shipping. You will have to pay for shipping. So keep that in mind because this baby is 24 pounds and big. So, you know, but you still would get pretty much all your money back. Okay, so let's talk about the grains that you can grind up in here. So what it comes with already inside, you have 2 different augers available. The one inside is the coil auger. So that's already in here. You don't have to do anything. So this coil auger is fine for your smaller grains. And by smaller grains, I mean all of your wheat berries. So all of your wheat berries are fine. The other one that it comes with is the grain breaker auger. So that is actually attached here that you can just remove and switch out. And that is designed to break larger media into smaller pieces. So these are for your larger grains like legumes, corn, coffee, and nuts. So yes, y'all, this can be used for wet grains as well, like your oily type grains, like your nuts and your coffee, as well as your typical wheat berries and things like that. Just know you're gonna have to switch out the augers, which is actually very common for your manual mills anyway. Okay, so now the fun part, we get to mill by hand. So all I know is that in my Wonder Junior Deluxe video, I actually did, I believe about 9 cups of flour. So I milled 6 cups of wheat berries, which came out to about 9.5, 10 cups of flour. Took me about 45, 50 minutes. I'm gonna set a timer to see how long it'll take to do that. So let me grab some wheat berries that we have here. I'm gonna use the ones that they sent me. Okay, so they do say that you add in the grain first and then you start milling, which makes sense. It would be a little hard to like start it and then add it in. So that makes sense. So we're gonna add some in here. Okay, we have pretty much filled, not completely filled. That's just 1 cup of grain. Okay, and then let's start seeing how this works. Okay, oh, and I do love this. I do love this, how right here, they show you this way is coarse, this way is fine. So in case you forget, and on the flywheel here, they have arrows. So you remember which way to be turning. Okay, so I have this on pretty fine. I'm gonna loosen this up a bit. Okay, so coarse is towards me. Wow. Okay, I will say that's pretty easy. And the finest that I have, I would like to go a little bit finer. That's actually still not bad. Actually, that's not bad at all. But let me see if I can go a little bit fine. Okay, fine is clockwise. Just maybe do it 1 time. Let's do 1 more. There we go. Okay, let's get going. Okay. You know, that took about 10.5 minutes. Actually, I would say 10 minutes because I did stop briefly to change camera angle. So I would say that was 10 minutes to do 1 cup. I would say this is roughly the same amount of time as my Wonder Junior Deluxe. But I will say I'm proud of myself for literally going pretty much the whole time, nonstop milling. So clearly my workouts are working. Now, with that being said, it actually wasn't difficult to do it. And I am so pleased with how fine of a flour this is. I mean, that is nice, perfect. It feels nice and stuff. Almost feels like an all-purpose flour. Like that is some fine flour. Absolutely, I would bake with this flour, no problem. Am I gonna mill enough to make bread today? No, I ain't. That's a lot of work. So it does look like it would take the normal like 45-50 minutes for me to mill enough to bake a batch of bread, like for my family. I'm a large family. So all of that said. So now my thoughts. Do I recommend this grain mill? What I would use it for? So what I like and don't like about it, all of that stuff. So the thoughts. First of all, does this get the Grains and Grits seal of approval? Absolutely. It does. This is a very well made grain mill. I can tell by handling it, by using it. The construction is really good. I like how this guard is even metal, where I believe with the Wonder Junior Deluxe, this guard is the plastic part. So like there ain't no plastic on this mill. The only plastic is the washer things, you know, for the bolts. That's it. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling everything. Yeah, there's like no plastic. So for those of you who are wanting to stay away from everything plastic, this is definitely it. Now, if I was to use this as my main grain mill, I definitely would get the motor to save on time and things like that. So that way, you know, I can crank it out what I need without going through all this effort and spending like 45 minutes just grinding the grains. I would say even with me bolting it down with the clamp, it was holding down pretty well. There was only a couple times where it just went slightly, but I think that's because my counters are not ideal to this. So it handled milling with the clamp just well. It mills just fine. And if a mill mills fine, it's gonna do coarse just fine as well. I love that I can do all of my grains in this, including coffee beans and nuts. So you can make your own nut butter. The only thing is you just have to switch out the augers for those things. So if you want coffee and nuts, switch out the augers. If you want to keep it with your dry grains, this is good. And corn, you have to switch out the augers as well, which tells me this would probably also be just fine to make my own masa harina, grinding that corn as well. Another pro is the fact that this is a USA company, built in the USA. They even say the ball bearings are from the USA. So for those people who really, really want to support USA made all the way, pretty much, this looks like it's your jam. Now, as far as things that I don't like about this grain mill, and frankly, I wouldn't say there's nothing that I don't like, okay? The only thing is it's a manual mill, not an electric. That's not necessarily a con. It's just a different type of grain mill. So for me, with my needs, I definitely need and desire the electric grain mills so I can save time. So, but that's not a con. If I want a manual mill, this is an excellent one that I would want to get. Like I would want to get this one. So, you know, that's a con. It's actually, another con is that due to the way that it is structured, this is not a standalone grain mill. This is not one that just sits there that you can place on a counter like our electric grain mills. This is actually common for manual mills, period. They need to actually be bolted down to something, or the clamps on a type of counter that doesn't have those annoying little lips, or that it comes out enough that can secure this well. Not every countertop can do that. So check before you purchase to make sure that you can actually, it'll actually clamp on to your counter, because it may not. I would think ideally this would be something that is actually, you know, bolted down on all 4 bolts to some sort of board or a table, to have the 4 corners completely structured and held down would be ideal. And I would do that if you are using this mill on a regular basis. But for me, the clamp would work just fine because this is not what I'm using on a daily basis. But maybe I would if it was a true off-grid situation and I need to switch to off-grid, I would probably bolt it down even more just to keep it more sturdy and so I don't have to keep bolting it down. So let me know, y'all, what you think. Let me know for those of you who have this grain mill. Let us know what model you have, because if it is like a smaller model, let us know. Give me all your thoughts below. Absolutely, I think this is an amazing manual grain mill. Do I think it'll last a lifetime? Yes, I do. Absolutely, yes, I do. And on top of that, I'm pretty confident that nothing is gonna break from this. I mean, it is that well made. Like I've seen, especially the really cheap manual mills that have a lot more plastic parts. I've always thought like keep those extra on hand because there's more likelihood of those breaking with a lot of use. This, I really can't tell you what would break. Like I see why they have a lifetime guarantee, because I don't think you'll be needing it. So absolutely, to grab this mill, just go to grainsandgrit.com/grainmaker. So again, Miss Jenny, to my mill collection. I'm so excited to have her, but she's amazing. She's a beautiful grain mill and wonderful. There you go, y'all. If you are wanting to see the review of the Wonder Junior Deluxe grain mill, that is this video here. And then if you want to see me actually make bread in a true off-grid situation, this was post Hurricane Helene. We didn't have any power in our house. I milled bread by hand and baked it on a grill. That is this video here down below. So be sure to check those out for true off-grid bread baking and more reviews. And as always, I hope y'all have a wonderful day and I'll see you next week. Bye.